see, you're still in the rig because you're enjoying your trip down the road. You may not dislike what I say, but at least it's worth a debate and a conversation. Well, let's make it easier. On this Friday, we get a chance to visit with Kyle Agre. Now, he is half of the team of Brewer-Agre Outdoors. It's worth going to your search engine to find the work that they do. They are all over the media because they are good at what they do. Let's bring Kyle in. Kyle, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Hey, thanks, Joel. Great to be here again on what an exciting day.
I want your job. I mean, you get paid to go out and fish and hunt and tap trees and make syrup. Now, that's not a bad gig.
It's not a bad gig at all. Yeah. We love it. We love it.
Let's talk about this, the Minnesota Fishing Opener. I mentioned earlier that for many people, this is a holiday that it's something on the calendar that they put down long in advance.
Absolutely. The tradition of the Minnesota Fishing Opener, I mean, it goes back generations. And when you look at ice fishing, right, and our winter activities, there's no date on the calendar for first ice. There is for the Minnesota Fishing Opener. You know when it's coming.
So let's talk about that to kick things off, because there is still ice on the lakes in some of these areas. I mean, geographically, walk me through what you're seeing out there.
Well, a lot of the ice on area lakes around here, around the Fargo-Moorhead area anyway, a lot of that ice came off last weekend with some real high winds and some rain and warm temperatures. But as you go north, you look at areas like Lake of the Woods right now, and they're not completely ice-free. There's going to be boats and anglers out there in the Rainy River and some of the bays where it's got current. But there's still ice sheets out in the main lake.
Which is never good. If the wind comes up, you don't want an ice sheet coming at you when you're fighting it.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's been a unique year. Not that it's completely uncommon. I mean, I think back, there have been other years when we've had ice real close to the opener, but it's not the norm. Yeah. Right? It's not the norm.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about what you're hearing so far. North Dakota side, they're already fishing. You know that.
Yes.
There is no fishing opener in North Dakota. It's open all year round. What are you seeing on the North Dakota side?
Well, I tell you what, if you are looking to get into some walleyes, you've got two of the best fisheries in North America in the Missouri River, Lake Skakawea, and then in Devil's Lake. The reports coming from the river, the fishing's on fire, right? There's fish being caught all over. Devil's Lake, you're talking about ice out. They're fresh from the ice out. It has not been off the lake for all that long. But if you get to the coulees, the flowing water, or some of the bridges where water's flowing from one bay to another, you find those current areas, you're going to find walleyes and you're going to find pike, and plenty of them.
So, for the average person that doesn't do what you do, why? Is it because the water's warmer? Why is that?
Well, this time of the year, these fish are coming off of their spawn. As soon as the ice goes out, the fish are seeking current areas where there's gravel and rubble on the bottom. They're laying their eggs, right? That's part of their life cycle. And, once we get post-spawn, which is where we are right now, that spawn is a pretty quick time frame. But after that, those fish are hungry. They've been doing their thing for a couple of days, 7 to 10 days, and now they're looking to eat, recuperate. Like that big buck when he comes off the rut, he's got to eat. He's got to put the weight back on. That's where these walleyes are right now, and the current areas are warmer. That is one thing for sure. But they're also food.
You mentioned Lake Sakakawea. If my cousin Andy sends me one more picture of a really nice walleye, he's off the Christmas card list, because they're nailing them. They're doing pretty well.
Yes, they are. And Lake Skakawea is just one of those. You talk to anybody in North America, you talk walleyes, Lake Skakawea is going to be on the list.
Yeah, it's bound to be. So, what do you expect to see in Minnesota? For those anglers that are out there, give them some advice. What would you do if you're them?
Well, it's estimated to be 500,000 anglers hitting the water this weekend for the opener in the state of Minnesota. That's phenomenal. With our late spring, we're going to see those fish in adjacent to their spawning grounds. So shallow gravel bars, rivers. I'd be looking for current, river inlets, stream inlets, that type of area. And I'm going to be looking shallow. Quite honestly, I'm going to be looking less than 10 feet of water, because those fish have not yet moved out into the first break into the deeper water.
So what you just described to me is some of what I'm seeing down where I live, which is shore fishing. The shore fishing being at this time of year just as good as getting out in that boat later in the year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Shore fishing, this is the time of year, if you have a pair of waders, right? Who cares about the boat? If you've got a pair of waders, you're going to be able to get out there and get to the spots where those walleyes are hanging out. And of course, when you get to those areas, you're going to catch the incidental pike. You might even catch some crappies and some of the other fish, but they're going to be up shallow. They're going to be feeding. It's a great time to get out and enjoy the sport.
Okay, so in Minnesota, there's a lot of North Dakotans that look at Minnesota now. Mm-hmm. Is there a window here? Can North Dakotans go into Minnesota on the fishing opener, or do they have to wait and let the Minnesotans have the lake first?
Well, thankfully, they don't have to wait.
Well, North Dakota's push things like that.
Yeah, they have.
Right?
They have. And North Dakota, when you look at other seasons, waterfowl season, they'll have a resident-only week.
Pheasant season?
Pheasants the same way. But Minnesota doesn't. As long as you buy a valid Minnesota fishing license for the 2022 season, you're able to get out there on opener. Crappies, panfish, doesn't close, Joel, so you've got that open year-round. But your walleye, your pike, they're going to open tonight at midnight, tomorrow morning, 12:01.
And there will be people out there at 12:01.
Absolutely there will. I might see a few of them while I'm out there. I don't know.
I was going to say, and you're going to be one of them. I went to the governor's opener once, and it'd be nice if a governor actually caught a fish once. I mean, actually, Governor Walz caught some last year, but that's not the norm. Fair?
Yeah, you're right. That's right. It's more of a
What lake is it on this year?
Leech Lake.
Leech Lake.
So Leech, Winnibigoshish, that area. Leech Lake Reservation, I think, is hosting the governor's opener, which is a fantastic opportunity to showcase that part of the state.
Well, and to promote fishing, which is a huge part of Minnesota tourism.
Absolutely. Minnesota tourism, that piece of the economy drives, and I don't have the stats. I don't know what the number of jobs, but it's huge. It's huge. And do you know how much money from the general fund in Minnesota goes into the fisheries, natural resources?
No.
None. It's funded by people who buy fishing licenses, people who buy fishing tackle and gear. That's where the money comes from. So it's us who are, those of us who are out using the resources are the ones supporting it, which is, I think that's awesome.
Which that is similar to North Dakota Game and Fish. The sportsmen themselves and women are the ones that fund it.
Correct.
In many ways. So your advice, not just on how to catch fish, but there's a lot of things that go along with an opener. A lot of people are going to look at Brewer-Agre and say, all right, you're the experts when it comes to this. What should I do?
Hey, I'd be looking, as I said earlier, some of the shallower areas in the lake. I'm going to be pitching a jig, a small jig, light as we can go. Well, that might be a 1/4 or an 1/8 ounce jig. That jig might be, and you have to experiment a little bit because there's no black and white clear, this is the only way to do it. But maybe you tip that jig with a fathead. Maybe you tip it with a spot-tail shiner. In Minnesota, that's a common forage, great opener bait. If you can find them, spot-tailed shiners would be highly recommended. And yet, you can still go out with a twister tail, paddle tail, plastic, and you can do very well with that also.
Well, and I will tell you this, the water's going to be cold. If you've ever debated wearing a life jacket, this might not be a bad time to do it.
Absolutely. Safety, safety, safety. First of mind, wear that life preserver. It's the law to have it in the boat and available, but my recommendation is have it on your body. That water is cold. And you got to be safe.
So what's the newest and the latest? I mean, you're out there looking at every product. Heck, that's your show. What is the newest and the latest? Something that a lot of people that are viewing don't even know is out there.
Well, I'd say safety, life, personal flotation devices. These inflatable devices, they feel like you're not even wearing them. But yet, if you are submersed in the water, they have a mechanism that inflates them and creates that flotation when you need it. So that's great. Forward-facing sonar is some of the newest technology. This is sonar that actually points out in a specific direction. Now, typically you have a pole you mount it on so you can point it where you're thinking the fish might be. But it gives you a live image projection of what's happening. So it's not
even fair anymore for the fish.
Well, not really.
so right?
Exactly.
But, and I've seen, you told me about that one day when we were just talking, and That is going to get bought. People are going to use it.
It is. They're flying off the shelves. In fact, if you don't already have one on your boat, you'd be hard pressed to find one right now, to be honest with you.
Exactly. Always good to talk to you. Where can people find your work?
Hey, Brewer-Agre-Outdoors.com is kind of a culmination of everything we do. We, of course, are so proud to be able to be on KFGO, the mighty 790 here in Fargo, KWSN in Sioux Falls, weekends at 11, Gone Outdoors Radio.
And we're going to get you on Beck News more.